Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name's Lindsay. I'm really glad to have you here, and I hope you consider sticking around and subscribing and enjoying all the videos that I have to put out. So today I thought I'm getting ready to plan my next seasonal dinner party for my family, and I'll link up in the cards below the fall dinner party that I just did, but I thought maybe some of you guys would be interested in how I plan for those things. And it doesn't have to be a dinner party. It can be a birthday, it can be an anniversary dinner, it can be just any sort of special occasion that you want to create a special menu for. So you need some tools to start with. So I've got my laptop here. I have a couple of my favorite cookbooks. I've got this one's called Gatherings, and then Sunday Suppers. Those are really good for dinner party type things. And then I've got just a good old pen and paper, and I'm gonna start planning out. So the first thing that you wanna do, in this case, because it's a winter dinner party, is I'm gonna try to think of winter flavors, right? So the first thing that comes to mind for me is pomegranates. The other thing is cranberries. That's always good. Peppermint, but that's kind of hard to cook with unless you're doing a peppermint dessert. So cranberries, pomegranates, citrus I know is winter. Whenever I get stuck, this is why I have my laptop here. I'm gonna Google just, winter flavors. Chestnuts, pralines, white chocolate, hazelnut maybe. Fennel. Fennel is good, so I'm gonna write down fennel, and I know that tarragon goes really well with fennel, so I'm gonna go ahead and write that down as well. Maple syrup, I always think of that as a fall flavor, not necessarily winter, but so that's maple syrup. Apple cider, same thing, I think of that as fall. Okay, so anyway, I've got some things that I know that I want to play around with. So I'm going to include some pomegranate seeds, and I want to include cranberries, and then we'll just add from there. So the key when you are planning a dinner party is to find balance in things, right? And the dishes you're serving. So that's a balance in flavors, that's a balance in temperatures, like hot and cold dishes, a balance in textures and color, and you just don't want same old stuff. So for my parties, I like to always include a signature cocktail because I think that's fun and can help tie everything together. A starter, a main dish, a side, and then a dessert. So 5 different things. What I always start with first is the main dish. So I decide, right off the bat what I'm gonna be serving, and then kind of play the rest of the menu around from that. So from a cocktail perspective, winter, I think of whiskey. I think of like warming kind of liquor. So whiskey is probably what the signature cocktail is going to be. So then I start thinking from a main perspective, meat is usually, you can have smoky meat, which kind of ties in the flavor of a whiskey. Potentially, it could not be whiskey at all. It could be something else, like I think of chicken pot pie, or like stew or something like that is a good winter. So anyway, this is when I jump to either Pinterest recipes or I jump to some of my favorite cookbooks, and I just flip through and see if anything catches my eye. I'll be straight over after work this time. All right, so when I was looking through the cookbooks, I wasn't really finding a lot of things that were really sticking out at me, but there was one in Sunday Suppers that I did find, and it was whiskey glazed ribs. So because I had said that, I was thinking maybe whiskey is a signature cocktail, whiskey glazed ribs sounds good. So I went ahead and wrote that down. Now, because we are looking for, again, that balance of things, I need to know whiskey glazed ribs are obviously a hot dish, and they're kind of dark in color. So whatever side I serve along with it and whatever appetizer comes before it, I don't want it to be dark in color, and if possible, I don't want it to be warm either. So especially the side, because you don't want hot and hot. So I'm thinking then really easy side. I mean, Brussels sprouts are a good winter thing, and they're green. Usually they're roasted though, and that would be warm and warm. So, I did a Christmas salad that it's actually super cute. It's a complete side note, but it's on a big serving tray in this little dish of dressing in the middle, but you decorate it around to make it look like a Christmas wreath. It was actually really nice. So maybe I'll do that. So I'll do the Christmas salad as the side, and that is, it has pistachios and pomegranates, which look like the red berries in the wreath, and then goat cheese, which looked like snow. I'm telling you, it was so cute. And then just, you know, spring mixed lettuce. So that is gonna be, we'll say green or light in color, and a cool dish. So that's good. All right, so then I know I'm gonna do whiskey in the signature cocktail then, because it's in the main dish. So I'm gonna go to Google. There are two main food blogs that I follow, and one of them, Half Baked Harvest. I absolutely love her, but she's also so good at cocktails. So I'm just gonna Google a whiskey cocktail Half Baked Harvest and see what pops up. So spiced honey bourbon, old fashioned. That's a maybe because it's spiced and that sounds warming. So I'm gonna write that down. Then you have Nightmare on Bourbon Street. I'm sure it's good, but that is Halloween by name, and I don't want to do that. Cranberry bourbon sour. Ooh, cinnamon bourbon. A cinnamon bourbon old fashioned with bruleed oranges. Let's see what that looks like and really read that as how difficult that is. So, I'm sorry I'm looking off camera. I'm looking at my laptop. So yeah, it doesn't look that easy, and it has some homemade simple syrup, but you can make that ahead of time, and I do love things that you can make ahead of time. So we're gonna go with that, which then gives me the opportunity to add some oranges into the Christmas salad. So we have our signature cocktail. I also think you want to do a red wine. So now we need a starter. Now I went to a Christmas party. Was it Christmas? I don't know. I don't know what it was. I went to a get together at some point in the year about 5 years ago, and my friend Hector had made the most amazing appetizer dish, and I still think about it, but I can't remember. It was a bunch of cheese. It was melted cheese. I think there were like dates and pecans in it or something, and I can't remember if the cheese was in bread or if he served it with bread. Hector, if you're watching this, please tell me what you did, but it was so good. So I'm gonna go back to Google, and I'm just gonna type in melted cheese, bread, fruit starter, and see what pops up. So there's a baked brie with a compote in the middle of it. Maybe that's it, and you serve it with a side of bread. You know what? Let's go back to Half Baked Harvest and see what we can find. Yes. This is it. Cranberry brie pull apart bread. So it's basically a loaf of sourdough, a round sourdough, and the melted cheese is in the middle, and then it's got cranberries in it. We're definitely going to do that. So cranberry brie pull apart bread. And this is light in color with hints of red, and it's warm. So it is warm and the ribs are warm, but at least you've got the salad to offset the warmness, and it's a different color. So I feel like it's kind of balanced. So we have the signature cocktail, we have the starter, we've got the main, we've got the side. Now we need dessert. So you can go, I guess, traditional and do like a gingerbread dessert, or like I was saying earlier, maybe a peppermint dessert. But I think that whiskey and cranberry is so strong that, like, flavors, that you don't want a really strong flavored dessert. And gingerbread and peppermint are very strong flavors, so maybe a bit more subtle. And dessert, because I'm a diabetic, dessert is not really something that's easy for me to come up with outside of just your traditional like cake and ice cream kind of thing. So I'm just gonna go to Pinterest and I'm gonna type in winter dessert recipes easy, and I'm going to see what pops up.
Greet the morning light. It started out like a fling, but for
Okay, so now we've got the full menu. So just to remind you what we have, we're starting with the signature cocktail. It's gonna be a cinnamon bourbon old fashioned with bruleed oranges. You're also going to be serving a deep red wine. For the starter, we'll do a cranberry and brie cheesy pull-apart bread, which is light in color and warm. We move into the main dish, which is the whiskey glazed ribs, which is warm and dark in color, but we're gonna serve it with a salad with oranges in it to tie in the orange from the cocktail, and that makes it not light in color necessarily, but green and fresh and crisp, and so different texture from the ribs as well. And then for dessert, we will do a spiced red wine poached pear. Try saying that 3 times fast. So now that we've got the menu, the next part is figuring out the cooking schedule. So I know that I want to eat, it's obviously dinner, so I want to serve dinner around 7 p.m. I would like my guests to be there at, say, like 6 p.m. because people in my family like to run late, so that gives them some buffer time when I'm not worried about overcooking the meal. And the cheesy bread can be made by 6. So if people are there on time, they can eat an appetizer and not be just completely starving, and we can enjoy drinks. So we're going to 7 p.m. eat time, 6 p.m. arrival. So when you're doing a cooking schedule, the first thing to look at is all of the recipes that you're making, particularly ones that you're gonna bake, and you wanna pull out 2 main things. One is the temperature of the oven, and 2 is the cook time. The other things you're gonna want to note is if there's prep time and if things can be made ahead the day before, things like that. But the 2 main ones to look at is temperature time and cook time, because that's gonna tell you where you can double up in the oven, or it's gonna tell you, you reverse engineer from the time that you want people to be eating back to when you're gonna need to start doing the prep. So for the pull-apart bread, it is $3.50 and there is a 20-minute cook time. The whiskey ribs, the oven is $325. Oh, so close. Cook time is 3 hours, and then you need 20 minutes on the stovetop to make the glaze. Then the salad, no cook, just prepping the salad. Great. The spiced red wine poached pears can be made the night before, so that's good to know. And then for the drink, the simple syrup can be made the night before, and then the bruleed oranges can be done day of, but they don't have to be warm, so they can be done early if we need to, so that's good. So then we just start working backwards and see where our schedule ends up.
It has turned into something else completely.
All right, so now I'm done making the cooking schedule, so I'll just run through this with you really quickly. So the day before the party, I'm gonna make the cinnamon syrup for the old fashioned, and then I'm gonna make the dessert, so the spiced red wine poached pears. I'm also gonna make the marinade for the rib, and then I want that to marinate overnight, so best to do that the day before. The day of, remember, I'm gonna have a 7 p.m. dinner time and a 6 p.m., hopefully, if you're in my family, arrival time. So I know this sounds early, but 10 a.m. is when I'm starting, and I'm gonna set the table because I wanna get that out of the way as quick as possible, make sure it's done, and then I wanna clean the house too, make sure everything's good. Also, need to remove the ribs from the fridge because you're gonna want them to come to room temperature, and that's gonna take a couple of hours, so I'm gonna do that at 10. At 1 p.m., I'm gonna supreme the oranges for the salad, and then I'm going to, since I'm working with oranges, I'm gonna brulee the other oranges for the signature cocktail. So then at 3:15 is when I'm gonna preheat the oven. And if you remember earlier in this video, I was saying the cranberry brie pull-apart bread had to go in at 350, whereas the ribs went in at 325. I'm just gonna put the bread in at 325 and bake it for longer than what it's supposed to. I don't have to cook anything through. All that has to happen is the cheese has to melt. So I think it'll be fine. It'll just take a little bit longer, and it makes life easier for me. So I'm gonna preheat the oven to 325. At 3:30, I'm gonna throw the ribs in the oven, and then I'm gonna get myself ready because I've got a break from 3:30 to 5 where I don't have to do anything. So that's the best time to get myself ready. 5 p.m. I'm gonna start prepping the bread so that 30 minutes later I can throw that in the oven. 6 p.m.-ish, depending on when the cheese is melted, I'll remove it, and if people are here, then I will serve it. If they're not here, then I'll tent it with foil, or I'll put it in the microwave, or I'll do something to try and like retain the heat, and hopefully they're not here too late so that it's still cheesy and melty goodness by the time they get here. At 6:30, it'll be time to pull the ribs out of the oven, and then I'm gonna start making the glaze the ribs, and then broil it. And then I'm gonna prep the salad, and then dinner is served. So my plan for the day of the video is I'm gonna film the recipes. I'll link to the recipes in that video. I will walk you through step by step how I make it, what I'm doing. And if that's of interest to you, then subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you get notified when videos come out. And yeah, thanks for joining, and I'm really hoping that you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you later. Bye.